I'm so beautiful. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Rayleigh Bradshaw, aspiring author of YA historical fiction, and today we are going to be doing the writing and makeup tag. This tag was created by Alexa Dunn with help from Kat Cho. I am going to link both of their videos below so you can go ahead and watch them if you haven't already. They both seem like really fun, great gals. I was tagged in this video by nobody. I invited myself to this party. So if you want to see the questions and answers that turned this into this, then just keep watching. So I'm going to be filming this with a towel on my head because I just took a shower and I don't usually dry my hair until after I've done my makeup. So the first one is going to be the primer. IPKN. The Radiant Cream Primer. Ooh, won't we be radiant, ladies? And then I've got this Shiseido that's supposed to be expensive, fancy. Ooh. And the question that is the primer of your story is going to be, what is your brainstorming process / favorite brainstorming tip? So it's been a while since I've started an original story. I'm on my second revision for this book that I wrote when I was in high school, and when I wrote that, I wrote it by the seat of my pants, just one chapter at a time, because I was posting one chapter at a time on Fiction Press, and I would get feedback on every single chapter. And so I pretty much only planned the book one chapter at a time, and I had to end each chapter on enough of an exciting note that people would want to read the next one. And that's kind of how the whole story fleshed out. But now that I'm in revision, I'll go over and read my original draft, and then I'll just write notes on what I want to change or what I want to be better. Oh, a big one actually. With historical fiction, a lot of my brainstorming comes from actually studying the history itself. The story I'm writing right now takes place in the Old West for the most part, so I read a lot of books about the Old West, and I have this book called The Old Time Cowhand that was actually written by a cowboy kind of in the older days. So a lot of my brainstorming comes from just reading that book, reading any kind of history book, I guess. We'll say that's my brainstorming, is reading history books, listening to music, just coming up with ideas, and then I'll write them down. That's it. That's my brainstorming technique. So moving on to the foundation of the story after the brainstorming. So for my foundation, I actually don't really wear foundation. I wear most of the time. I mostly use like just a CC cream, so I really like this It Cosmetics CC cream. It's your skin but better. I'll put links to everything I'm using in the description box below just in case y'all are curious. I don't know. The question that goes with the foundation is, are you a gardener or architect, i.e. do you outline or not? So I kind of already answered this. I used to be a pantser or a gardener when I was first writing on Fiction Press, just making it up as I went along. But now I definitely am the architect or the planner. Yeah, so now that I'm in revision, I plan things out because now I have more of a direction I want to go that's not quite the same direction as the book was originally when I pantsed it all out. Now that I've started planning things, or now that I've kind of become an architect, I have a feeling that is going to transfer over to future books that I write. I think I'm just going to always be the architect / the planner from now on. Dang, this looks yellow on camera! Dang girl, dang girl, dang! It still works. We're gonna work with it. Yeah, I usually put on my makeup in the dimmer lighting in my bathroom. So I'm looking shiny. I'm so shiny. Watch me dazzle like the diamond on the wreck. Scrub the deck. I don't know the words. Make you look shiny. The next question is concealer. What are we concealing in our stories, The concealer I'm using is the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer.
A lot of the products I'm using are or have been at one point very popular on YouTube. That's because I started watching YouTube by watching makeup videos, really. When I was younger, I used to watch like Halloween makeup tutorials because I was like, oh, I was looking up how to do a makeup for like a ghost because I was going to be a ghost from the Titanic at a school party or something like that. And from there, when I was getting married, I watched a lot of beauty tubers doing makeup because I was looking for makeup to do for my wedding, and then from there I found BookTube, and from there I found AuthorTube, and now here I am.
So yeah, it's kind of fun to be doing a makeup tag because that's kind of how I started on YouTube. That's how I started watching YouTube. So yeah, using sharp tape concealer, Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. All right, Rayleigh, come on, focus, girl. The question that goes along with the concealer has to do with revision. Love them or hate them, and what is your revision process like generally? So technically, I am revising. I'm in the process of revision right now, which is funny to say because I feel like I'm writing my first draft, but I'm not. I wrote my first draft when I was 15 in high school. So this is technically my second draft, and I'm revising the original draft, but there was so much that needed help in my original story that it feels like I'm just writing it for the first time because I'm doing a complete rewrite. I would say I like revisions better than writing the original draft. The original draft is definitely harder for me because you have nothing to work with yet. So you're creating the blocks with which you're gonna build almost, it feels like. Man, I feel like you can really see like the discoloration and the dark circles in your face when you do makeup with big lights like this. No wonder beauty tubers use so much of this stuff. I'm always like, dang girl, how are you putting so much freaking stuff on your face? Because they're doing it with like ring lights that show everything, I feel like. Back to revisions. I'm kind of completely rewriting the story, keeping the same characters, but even the main characters I'm changing quite a bit. In my original draft, the main character was a Spitfire. That's what people liked about her, but to me, she was kind of annoying. I'm trying to keep her spunky like she was originally, but make her more likable, and make her, to be honest, a little bit more believable, more like a real person that you would actually know and be friends with in real life. So that changes a lot. I'm practically writing from scratch. I try not to revise as I go along, but sometimes I do. Sometimes, let's be honest, I'll go back to a chapter and just read it just to remember where I left off, and then I'll do revisions. That is really fun to me. I actually really like doing that. So I'm really looking forward to having this second draft that I'm working on right now finished so I can actually do that kind of revision. What I'm doing right now is also fun, but it also kind of sucks a little bit because it's a little bit tedious because my first draft didn't give me quite enough to work with. I still have a lot to create now that I'm trying to be more historically accurate and add more depth to the characters. So my first draft was more like a really vague outline that introduced the characters, and now I'm going in and actually fleshing out a story and giving it more of a plot. Long answer to that question, but we're done with the concealer, so we'll say that's good. Okay, the next product that we're going to be using is the powder, and I assume this has something to do with endings because usually powder comes last. I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent powder. This was really popular a long time ago on YouTube. These expensive makeups that I own, I only bought them for my wedding and I still have them, so, and I don't use them that often. I hard labor powder my face because that's when my husband notices I'm wearing makeup. He's like, are you wearing makeup today? Whereas normally I do makeup that I try to look really natural with it, but anyway, so the powder, question of the powder is endings. Aha, I guessed that. Do you write chronologically or start at the end? And do you know your ending when you start? Do you prefer happy endings or bittersweet? So there's actually 3 questions in there. Basically all about endings. I do write chronologically. I think I just started doing that because I was initially writing by the seat of my pants, posting 1 chapter at a time on Fiction Press for other people to read. So of course I had to write chronologically. I couldn't post the last chapter and then the middle chapter, you know. I feel like this kind of, woo, that's too much powder! Brush it off, girl, brush it off! I typically know my ending before I start. Well, no. No, I don't. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. Right now, I know my ending. I mean, I already wrote this book, so I already wrote an ending to it, but it was so cheesy. While I've been doing this rewrite, I've been trying to come up with a better ending. And I think I have it now. I think I know what I want for the ending. So I guess in answer to that question, I usually have kind of a vague idea of how I want the ending to go, but I don't know it exactly. And I'll kind of figure it out as I go along. And then to answer, do I like happy endings or bittersweet? It totally depends on the story. I mean, originally the story had a cheesy, corny, happy, romantic ending. And I still want it to have a happy, romantic ending, but I also want to add just a little bit of bittersweet in there because I can't say without spoiling it. I'll just keep y'all guessing. What do I like? Typically I like happy endings. I don't like downer endings. Except for sometimes if they're done really well and you're like, oh man! Oh, it's terrible! Oh, that was really well done. Dang it! Those are good. I don't think I could write one of those though. I'd be too mad at myself. I don't think I could do it. Anyways, we'll say that's it for endings. The next one is eyebrows. This is the thing that no beauty tuber likes to show because it takes too long and it's boring to watch. Kitty's sleeping back there? Look how cute he is! Oh boy! Wow, that was creepy. Oh boy! Look at my kitty! Creepy. So for my eyebrows, I have thick dark eyebrows, so I don't really want to look like I've got caterpillars on my face. So I don't do that much with my eyebrows. I just kind of smooth them out, fill in any holes, and make them look smoother. I actually just use a powder. I'll use like this one because it matches my eyebrow shade pretty well. And the question that goes along with the eyebrows is titles. Do you come up with them before you start? During? After? Is titling your work important to you or nah? So I'm still working with the original title, which is Untamable, and for a while I was like, maybe I need to change this name. I feel like when I tell people the name Untamable, then they're like, oh, what's that? Woo! Like, oh, it's gonna be this wild romance. And yes, there's a lot of romance in it, but it's not, I wouldn't really say it's a romance. Technically, to be a romance, I think the main character has to meet the love interest within like the first chapter or 2 or 3. And in mine, the main character does not meet the, well, I'm actually not gonna say because I don't want to spoil anything. But I don't think mine could technically be called a romance. And the name Untamable, for some reason, yeah, conjures up in my mind like erotica romance. And I feel like that's misleading to what the story's actually like and about because it's mostly like a comedy. It's really lighthearted and anyways. Still using the working title of Untamable, but I'm kind of thinking of other titles as well. To be honest, I think because it's had the name Untamable for so long, I'm having a really hard time thinking of anything other than that. And when I do come up with other ideas, they don't really fit. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll just keep the name Untamable and then I'll make it work. And then when people think of Untamable, they won't think of erotica, they'll think of my book. So, yeah, I don't know. Man, these look so intense on camera. Like, just looking in my mirror, I swear it does not look this dark. I'm just gonna work with it. Actually, in all of my future projects that I have in mind, I have titles for them. So I guess I come up with titles before I even start writing. Are they subject to change? Yes. Is my current book title subject to change? Yes. But I kind of don't think it will. I kind of think it's gonna stay Untamable. I mean, that still fits with the story. Once you've read the book, you'll get it. I'm just afraid of it being misleading from the beginning, but if the cover looks right, and I feel like if the font looks right, it's just in speaking. When I say, I'm writing a book, it's a Western romance, and it's called Untamable, I'm afraid they're gonna think of a book with, like, this cowboy who's, like, shirtless and has his pants really low, and his name is, like, Duke, or not that there's anything wrong with those books. That's just not what I write. And I don't want people to think I write stuff that I don't write. That's what I'm saying. Moving on. We're gonna go on to question number 7 before number 6, which is eyeliner, since I do my eyeliner first before I do eyeshadow. I have hooded eyelids, so I don't usually do eyeliner up here. I usually do it in the eye tight line right under here where my eyelashes come out. You're not gonna be able to witness this because I cannot film this and do it at the same time. I'll poke my eye out. Yeah, so I'm gonna do this and then I'll answer the question. Okay? Yeah, let's do it that way. Actually, maybe you can see what I'm doing because my camera is close enough, so maybe I'll answer this question while I'm doing this. Unless this is super distracting for you. Let's see what the question is. What is the hardest thing for you to write? And I'm not doing a wing eyeliner because I have hooded eyelids. If I did a wing, it would make my hood look like a bulbous mass. So I don't do winged eyeliner, but I'll show you what I do. It's a little different, but it's good. If you have hooded eyelids, if you have hooded eyelids like I do, then you might really like this trick actually. So I'm doing this
in my waterline like this. This was a color created by Kathleen Lights. If you ever watch BeautyTube, you should watch her because she's my favorite. She's like one of the only ones I still watch anymore. Her and Jessica Braun, they're the only beauty tubers I still watch on a regular basis because I do damn. So it's like not very noticeable, but it adds just a slight depth that I feel like I need without cutting out from my tiny little eyelid. Okay, and then once I've done that, then I go underneath, but so what I do is I go from the bottom eyelid, and I'm going kind of straight up like this. So this is like my version of a wing, low. Okay, and then, I'm gonna take that, just go like that, and then I'm gonna take my,
So there's one eye. I'm actually gonna turn off my camera and do the other one, and then we're gonna answer this question. Ta-da! Finished the other eye. So question for eyeliner was, what is the hardest thing for you to write? Oh, right now it feels like everything. Probably the hardest thing for me to write is like transition scenes. I have a really hard time like having one scene with like dialogue and everything and then just making it end and then suddenly we're at another scene. Like sometimes I'm afraid it feels like it's a soap opera, you know how they're just like all serious. What were you doing last night? And then all of a sudden it's another scene where somebody walks in and they're like, Ben, I'm here! Who's she? Sometimes I feel like my book is like that because I don't transition very well. And so then sometimes I'll end up overwriting because I'm like, well, I have to write every little thing that happens from this scene to this scene so people know like what happened in between. You don't need that, and sometimes you do. Very rarely do you ever need that, I guess. And so then when I'll go and read other books, I'll be like, well, they didn't explain what happened in between here, and it's not weird. So that's hard for me. The transitions are hard for me to write or to know when not to write. I have a feeling that's going to be a big thing when I have beta readers, that they're going to be like, okay, come on, we do not need to hear about her getting dressed for the day again. We do not need to hear from the beginning of the day to from when she woke up in the morning to when she went to bed at night. We don't need to hear all that, you know. I'll get better. I'll get there. Okay, so now we're going to be moving on to the eyeshadow. This is the one I used for my wedding. I only bought these shades because Jaclyn Hill was talking about them and she did them in her bridal tutorial, and I pretty much followed that, but in my own way because I have hooded eyes. Long story short. Okay, and the question that goes along with the eyeshadow is, some people go monochromatic and some people blend. Do you love big or small casts? And what's your favorite character development hack? I typically prefer small casts. Because I have a small attention span, and when there's too many people I have a hard time keeping track of everybody, and then I get overwhelmed and I'm like, it's not worth it! I typically like smaller casts of people because I feel like I get to know the characters better on a more intimate level, and it's easier to keep track of them, and I'm not overwhelmed, and it's more fun, easier to enjoy. So, smaller casts for the win. And I really don't like when, personally, I know a lot of people really like this, so like, no offense, I'm glad that there are books like this out there for you people who like it, but I'm not one of you! I do not like when there's a bunch, like multiple POVs in one story, when there's a lot of different points of view and it keeps switching from one character to the other. For me, I'm just like, okay, pick a character. It's like in Thor Ragnarok where he's like, pick a color. Anyways, that's kind of how I feel with characters. It's just like, I kind of only want to be in the head of one character, maybe 2. 3 is too much. That's how I feel about it. But I know not everyone feels that way, so I'm glad that there's variety in the world so that everybody can get what everybody wants and everybody needs. Whoa, this looks dark on camera. Okay, we're gonna line it up. But yeah, for me, I'd be perfectly happy with, like, there's only 5 characters in the whole book, but they're really interesting characters and a lot happens to them. That's cool. When there's a lot of secondary characters, that's cool too. Funny background characters or side characters are cool for me. I just don't like there to be too many main characters for me to care about. That's all I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna take my finger, and this one, usually I'll use like a little bit of Fix-It Plus or something to wet it. Oh, it's not coming off! Okay. And we're just gonna dab it. Whoa, dang. I guess that was coming off. Okay, that answered that question, and eyeshadow is done. So moving on to the mascara. This is my lash paradise. Almost paradise! So the question that goes with the mascara is, do you write long or short? What's your typical first draft word count? So my original draft was, I think, around about 70,000 words was the whole thing. So that was kind of short. I mean, that was short. That was short for a novel. But now that I'm writing my revision, which is kind of like a first draft, I'm writing long. Almost paradise. And I know that I'm gonna go through and cut out a bunch of that stuff and probably add in some other stuff somewhere else. There are places where I'm going to add, places where I'm going to take away, but I think overall I'm going to be taking away more than I'm adding because I think I'm kind of writing long right now. Almost paradise. Is this gross being this close to my eyes while I'm putting on mascara? Is this gross? Is this gross? Is this gross? Is this gross? Is it grossing you out? I don't really have very long eyelashes, so it's really hard to make it look like they're long. It looks better on that side than this side though, right? Ah! Dang it! Whatever. I learned from Jaclyn Hill that all you gotta do is wait for it to dry and then you just brush it off. It doesn't work for me. It's actually easier for me to get it off when it's wet. Ooh, never mind. When you've got powder on, that's probably why it works that way for her. She's got all this powder on her face and I usually don't. Dang, I've got so much powder on my face that... We'll fix it later. Clearly I'm not a makeup artist. Okay. That's as good as it's gonna get, folks. Okay, so next is contour. I don't contour because this is already more makeup already. Somebody told me once that I say the word already, or that word weird. They're like, you say already. And so now when I like have to think really hard to be like, already. Anyways, I don't remember what I was gonna say. Oh, I already have more makeup on than I typically would with all this powder on my face, and then I smeared some because I messed up my mascara and wiped it off. But I'll do some bronzer, and I love this butter bronzer this is Physicians Formula butter bronzer, and it smells like cupuaçu. If you don't know what cupuaçu is, it's this delicious, divine white fruit from Brazil. I used to live in Brazil, and this fruit is amazing. I don't know why we don't import it here to the US and eat it, because it tastes like this smells. And on YouTube, whenever girls use this and they're like, it smells like, is it coconut? What is it? It smells so good, but I don't know what that delicious fruit smell is. It's cupuaçu. That's what it is. It even says it in the ingredients. And most people can't pronounce that, but yeah, that's how you pronounce it. It's kupwasu. It's delicious. If you can find juice or fruit or something like that, you should eat it. Taste it. It's so good. It smells like this bronzer. Anyways, so to contour, I'm actually just going to be using this bronzer a little bit right here, a little bit right here. All right. So here's the question that goes with the bronzer. Tell us about the darkest parts of your book. Who is your villain / antagonist? What dark, creepy, tough things do your characters face? So my book is not very dark. It's pretty light-hearted, actually. It's kind of a comedy. Think like Anna Green Gables-esque, like that level of comedy and lightheartedness. But I'd say the villain or antagonist is probably there's actually a small handful of them. There's about 3, but I'd say probably the main one is. Camera just cut out on me. That was weird. Anyways, I'd say the main villain or antagonist is probably the main character's father. She has kind of an abusive father. Not like he throws her around the... I'm not gonna say anything to spoil it, but yeah, he's the main antagonist. Even though there are some darker characters who do worse things than he does, he's the main opposing force that she has to learn how to stand up to, or whatever. Hold on, we gotta tighten this mess. Okay, it's getting too loose because I've been wearing it for too long and my hair's already starting to dry underneath. Oh. Yeah, we're gonna say her father, the main character's father, and the main character's name is Mercedes. And the darkest part of my book would probably be the parts with him, and I can't say the rest without spoiling anything, so we're not gonna talk about it. Okay, there's bronzer. There's the answer to that question. Darkest parts of my book? There's not really any. Okay, next is blush. And I think this is a cute question to go with the blush, but I'm using the Fit Me Maybelline blush in Fard de Joux. The question is, who are you most scared to share your work with? That's a cute question to go with the blush. Like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. The person I'm the most scared to share my work with. Whoa, dang! This blush is bright. It's too much. It's too much, girl. It's too much, girl. It's too much, girl. Let's see if we... I can't get it off. Okay, try to blend it. Blend it out a little bit. It's not working! There's too much on my face now! This is kind of a disaster. But the point is that I am the most nervous to share my work with. A lot of people said their mothers. I can relate to that because my mother is an English teacher. She was my English teacher throughout high school, and I really, really respect her. I think my mom is the most amazing woman who ever lived on the planet. And I want her to approve of everything I do, and I want her to like it so much! I'm nervous to show it to my mom. Not super scared. I'm probably the most scared, honestly. I was the most scared to share with my husband because I thought he would be embarrassed that his wife writes silly little romantic books. But then when I actually finally just told him about it, I was really shocked at how supportive he's been and how he's like he wants to do anything he can to help me, and he thinks it's really cool. So I'm like, true love. I don't really think I'm that scared to show it to anyone anymore. Now that I've overcome that hurdle of like being afraid of what my husband would think, now that he's on board with it and I have his support, honestly, I feel like that's the only thing that matters. So like, even if I share my book with other people and they think it's dumb, like, whatever, my husband supports me, so there. That's how I feel about that. Too much blush for how not strong my answer was, right? Whatever, maybe it'll look better when I have my hair down. What if I like... Will that get it off? It's wet, kind of. But anyways, it's not working. Okay, moving on to the highlighter. I really hardly ever wear highlighter either because, again, I feel like it makes me look like I'm wearing too much makeup. Some girls, they wear so much makeup and their skin is like, wha-bam! Beautiful! I'm not one of those people. I just look like this crazy cake face woman that's like, ooh, let's have crumpets and tea! But anyways, The highlighter I'm using is from Hourglass. It's like a crazy expensive and it's covered in fingerprints. But again, I bought this for my wedding because I was splurging because it's my wedding day. And this is supposed to be like, have like a really natural, give you like a natural glow, like you're not wearing any makeup, but you just look like you're glowing from within. That's the claims for this, but I tend to get too heavy-handed with it because I'm like, huh, I don't see it. Is it there? Is it there? And then I put way too much on, and then I look like a crazy, crumpets and tea lady. So, and the question that goes with the highlighter is, what's your favorite type of scene to write? This is a good question. My favorite type of scene to write used to be like the romantic scenes. It might still be, though I'll have a video upcoming on this topic. Getting married has changed the way I view romance. And to be honest, it's kind of made it a little bit hard to write the romantic scenes for my book. I'm still figuring that whole thing out. Honestly, probably my favorite thing to write is dialogue. I don't know why. I have fun writing scenes of people who are talking to each other. And like, especially if like one of the characters is really funny. Like, I have a couple of secondary characters who I think are just really fun to write dialogue with. Because they're just not really very refined. And their mom is always trying to get them to be more refined and like speak proper English, but they have picked up on the ways of like the New West. To me, it's just really funny and like they're quirky characters, but yeah, I really like writing dialogue with them, so. Can you see my highlight? Oh, so beautiful. It looks like I put some there, but nope. My nose is just shiny. So next we're moving on to the lipstick. And for lipstick, I'm going to be using, but this is like a PB&J smoothie stick. This is another thing that I got in a sample box. But I really like this. I like it a lot. He's so good. So the question that goes along with the lipstick is writing kissing scene. Love it or hate it? How do you tackle them? Let me think about that while I put on my lipstick. I actually kind of like writing them. Sometimes they can be hard, like if I'm not in the mood to write one, or if I think too much about it, or I get nervous thinking like, my husband's gonna read this, or like, my mom's gonna read this. But to be honest, I don't write super intense, passionate kissing scenes. Most of my kissing scenes are just like sweet little kisses, because that's what I like, to be honest. But yeah, I like writing them because I like thinking about like what were my experiences, or when I think back on like when I was dating my husband, and just those little things that were so exciting in the beginning of a relationship. I don't know, it's something really tender that I really like reflecting back on, and it's kind of fun to think of ways to describe what that feels like with like something so simple as like their arms accidentally brushed when they're sitting next to each other, and the way that feels. Writing kissing scenes, I like to reflect back on those things, and just, no, I like it. I like writing them. They're fun. Yeah, that answered all of the questions. So now I'm just gonna do my hair and I'll be right back. That concludes this video for today. If you had as much fun watching it as I had making it, then go ahead and press that like button below. If you are interested in seeing more of me and my writing advice and shenanigans, go ahead and subscribe. I post every Monday. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rayleigh Bradshaw and at my blog at RayleighBradshaw.com. The links are posted below. And so that's a wrap for today. We'll see you next time. Bye!
Would you come and take a walk with me? We'll cross over the mountains, we'll reach the pale blue sea. I